News 4 San Antonio at 5. We're here for you.
The Sutherland Springs trial nearing its end, the latest on what we've learned so far and what you can expect in tomorrow's closing arguments. And it's day one of early voting here in Bexar County. We'll show you where you can go to cast your vote and what you'll be voting on. And closing arguments in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin have wrapped up. We have a full recap for you while the nation waits for a verdict. We begin tonight as testimony wraps up after more than a week. The surviving members of the Sutherland Springs massacre suing the Air Force. Closing arguments are scheduled for tomorrow in federal court. News 4 San Antonio's Joe Galley is here for you with a recap of what we've learned so far and a preview of what we expect to see tomorrow.
Some of the most shocking testimony from this court case has been from the shooter's widow and from his parents. Our camera station has stayed on top of the proceedings since it began last week. Devin Kelly's widow took to the stand to tell us harrowing stories of years of abuse that she had at the hands of a man who eventually gunned down 26 people at the First Baptist Church in November 2017. She said Kelly had a fascination with. She said that she had asked him for a divorce the day before the rampage. The widow's family attended services at the church. We also heard testimony from Kelly's parents, whom he called just after the shooting. He told his parents over the phone, quote, "I just killed a bunch of people inside of a church." There was also extensive evidence from the Air Force itself, a number of documents proving Kelly was undergoing psychological evaluations, which stated that he had violent tendencies and he had threatened military leadership. And during the evaluations, a psychologist found that he had concerns for future violence. Kelly was after assaulting his first wife. Lawyers representing the families from Sutherland Springs say that if the Air Force reported that conviction to the FBI, he would not have been able to purchase the firearm. Arguments are scheduled to begin at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We will stay on top of everything for you and bring you updates as they happen. Reporting downtown, Joe Galley, News 4 San Antonio.
Melissa Vega at the live desk. We are following some breaking news. We have a live picture of a reported shooting at San Fernando Cemetery number 3. We are working to get you more information. And we also have a breaking update on a story we've been following for you on news4sa.com and on our Facebook page. In far north Bexar County Sheriff's deputies have been on the scene of a home off Southern Oaks near Evans Road. We just learned moments ago deputies were called to a home after a woman said she'd been assaulted by her husband. Deputies say they made contact with the man and there was a 1- and 3-year-old child in the house. The man came outside with the children. Investigators say the children are okay and unharmed. A little earlier, Wortham Oaks Elementary and Veterans Memorial High School were placed on lockdown as safety precautions. Those lockdowns have been lifted. The woman, we're told, is at the hospital and the investigation is still ongoing. That's the latest from the
One of early voting for the May 1st election, and there are a lot of places around the city for you to cast your vote. Early voting will run through next Tuesday. Keep in mind, polls will be open this week from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. On Saturday, they'll be open 8 to 8. Polls will be closed on Sunday. They do reopen next Monday and Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Election day is Saturday, May 1st. For better perspective here, we wanted to show you a sample ballot. You can see this is an election for your city mayor as well as all 10 city council seats. There are also 3 propositions for you to vote on. One of those propositions is proving to be quite divisive. You might even be receiving text messages about it. Proposition B, dealing with repealing collective bargaining for the San Antonio Police Department. Some see it as the first step in defunding police. Others say it helps hold officers accountable.
This is San Antonio, but we don't have the same issues that they have across the country.
Proposition B makes sure that they're held accountable to the public.
Tonight at 6, we'll break down what both sides say the proposition is all about. Well, right now, every American 16 and older is eligible for a COVID vaccine. The CDC says half have already received at least 1 dose. The milestone comes as a pause on the single-shot Johnson & Johnson is taking a toll on overall vaccine confidence. A decision is expected on Friday about whether it's safe to start using J&J once again. With University Health receiving thousands of vaccines, they're opening up more appointments for you. They say about 15,000 appointments are available the America's Mall. We do have a link for you to register for an appointment. You can head to news4sa.com. Well, if you're still waiting to sign up for your COVID-19 vaccine, a local pharmacy has got you covered. Davila Pharmacy, located just west of downtown on Guadalupe Street, will be administering second doses of the Moderna vaccine tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, they'll start administering 500 first doses of the vaccine. They tell us there's plenty of spots still open, saying demand for the vaccine just wasn't what it was before.
We're experiencing nationwide is that supply is finally meeting demand and may even be exceeding the demand in terms of there being more doses than arms to get them in.
There's a couple of ways you can schedule your appointment. We have a link to register on news4sa.com, or you can call the number listed right there at the bottom of your screen. We'll continue to follow the latest when it comes to efforts to get you a COVID vaccine. We'll keep you updated here on 4 and online at news4sa.com. Making headlines trial of Derek Chauvin. National investigative correspondent Josie Sturman recaps the trial for you as the nation waits for a verdict.
This wasn't policing. This was murder. The defendant is guilty.
Dramatic and emotional closing arguments in the Derek Chauvin trial in Minneapolis.
He was trapped with the unyielding as the men who held him down.
The prosecution in painstaking detail describing George Floyd's final moments on May 25, 2020, saying the 6'4" Floyd bloodied his face, shoulder, and knuckles as he struggled for breath.
There was no superhuman strength that day. There's no superhuman strength because there's no such thing as a superhuman. Those exist in comic books, not superhumans, only humans.
Prosecutor Stephen Slisher delivered a more than 90-minute closing statement telling the jury Derek Chauvin showed no compassion as Floyd cried out, also showing no regard for the bystanders that pleaded with Chauvin to remove his knee and administer aid.
His ego, his pride. He chose pride over policing.
Slisher methodically laid out a roadmap of what it takes to prove each element in the 3 counts filed against Chauvin, second and third degree murder and second-degree manslaughter, walking the jury back through each expert who testified that George Floyd died of low oxygen and that Chauvin's use of force was not justified or consistent.
It's exactly what you believed. It's exactly what you saw with your eyes. It's exactly what you knew. It's what you felt in your gut. It's what you now know in your heart.
You cannot take a single frame and draw conclusions.
Then the defense worked to plant doubt. Attorney Eric Nelson offering a nearly 3-hour closing argument, telling the jury there's more to the story than the viral video of Floyd's death, repeatedly reminding the jurors they have to look at the entire encounter with George Floyd and evaluate how a, quote, reasonable officer would have acted based with his client Derek Chauvin removing his mask and facing the jury. Nelson also fired back against the prosecution's argument that George Floyd died from asphyxia.
We know this wasn't asphyxiation because George Floyd had a 98% oxygen level. How could he have been asphyxiated?
Nelson recalling expert testimony, emphasizing other factors than low oxygen leading to Floyd's death, things like heart disease and drug use the day of his death. And he reminded the jury of testimony they heard about the justifiable use of force.
Simply because someone isn't stabbing you or punching you or shooting at you, it doesn't mean that you can't use force. And that is specifically in the Minneapolis Police Department policy.
Now a monumental task lies before the jury, who will deliberate in a closed room inside a fortified city, bracing for unrest. For Spotlight on America, I'm Josie Sturman.
Still to come, remembering the Oklahoma City bombing victims. We'll share with you how the city is honoring their lives 26 years later. And thousands of migrant children are in government custody right now. We'll break down the numbers for you and why the White House weekend. Making headlines, more migrant facilities are opening up as the Biden administration works to handle a surge of unaccompanied children at the southern border. Officials say as of last Thursday, there are more than 22,000 migrant children in government custody. Since mid-March, more than 11 emergency sites have been opened to shelter those migrant children. Meanwhile, the White House is backing away from President Biden's words this weekend that the influx of migrant children is a, quote, crisis. The White House press office and the Department of Homeland Security have refused to characterize the situation at the border in that way. The White House clarifying the statement, saying the term crisis applied to the northern triangle. People gathering at a remembrance ceremony to honor the 168 people killed in the Oklahoma City bombing 26 years ago. Attorney General Merrick Garland led both the investigation and the prosecution into the deadly attack at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Today, he spoke at a ceremony to honor the lives lost.
How many people had died. But we did know that the Children's Center, which had been at the front of the building, was gone.
Timothy McVeigh, a former Army soldier, was convicted in the bombing and sentenced to death in 2001. Restrictions. We'll break down what it means for you and when it will start. Plus, billions of dollars set aside for schools. But when will they see it? We'll tell you what teachers say they want to use the money for. Back, an update to bring you on billions of dollars of federal relief money set aside for Texas schools. Local teachers say they're hoping to use that money to help students catch up after more than a year of remote learning. News 4 San Antonio's Zach Hedrick joining us now. He continues to follow up with state lawmakers for you to find out what's causing this delay. Good evening, Zach.
Good evening, Simone. Well, students with Edgewood ISD are starting to return to campus in phases. Last week, juniors and seniors returned. It was the first day for sophomores back here at Memorial High School today, but teachers and administrators are worried about how they're going to make up for lost time.
We lost students on a huge scale.
Cynthia Lopez is in her 5th year of teaching with Edgewood ISD, and it's her first at Memorial High School. This past year has been challenging, to say the least.
That has been the biggest challenge, getting kids logged on.
With students now coming back to campus, Lopez says the main focus now is closing those learning gaps.
We're now seeing classrooms being doubled up and having to be mixed, which is not something we want to do.
Texas school districts have yet to see 1 cent of nearly $20 billion of federal relief money. In a statement, Governor Greg Abbott says the state has yet to receive formal guidance on that funding.
We need the governor to get out of the way and let the schools have the resources that they need.
Congressman Lloyd Doggett says many other states are already using the money to help their schools.
What else can be done, Congressman, to kind of help speed up this process so the money can get to the schools?
Let me emphasize, there's no lack of guidance from Washington that is preventing this money from going to our schools.
Now, I also reached out to the Department of Education. I'm told that more guidance on that funding should be coming out soon. Now, we also reached back out to the governor's office as well for a response to those comments, but we have not heard back. Melissa, back to you.
And at the live desk, we just received an update from police on the breaking news we've been following for you on the city's west side. A shooting at San Fernando Cemetery number 3. This is along Couples near West Jewel. San Antonio police saying family and friends showed up to the cemetery for the anniversary of a loved one who passed away last year from a shooting at the park. As they were gathering, police say a car pulled up next to them and someone started shooting at them. That's when family and friends started shooting back. Now, police tell us no one was hit, and they also don't know who specifically was being targeted, but still a very active investigation. That's the latest from the live desk. Simone?
All right, Melissa, thank you. Well, right now, SAWS in the city of San Antonio are entering stage 2 water restrictions. We've received less than 40% of normal rainfall since last June. The water restrictions start tomorrow and will last 15 days after the aquifer rises just about 650 feet. Your watering days will remain the same, but you will only be able to water between 7 to 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Now your certified most accurate 4-zone weather with Chief Meteorologist Chris Suchan.
Chris, I'm thinking this is the day you want to go walk the dog. A sunset walk would be perfect.
It's unbelievable weather here. No one's complaining about the temperatures, to be sure, but it's that rainfall. Boy, we need to start getting our hands on some decent rain. Aquifer level, let's check in here as Simone was just showing us. There it is now, 649.5. And what I wanted to do is let's put this into perspective here. I'm going to take you back 1 year ago. Our aquifer level was at 673. That's the kind of number you want to have before you get into our really hot, dry summers here where we get in the flash drought, which is very common for us across the region. So now here we are in the middle of April, and that's our 10-day running average here, and we don't have the head start. So that means there's probably going to be a little bit more pain ahead unless we can flip the switch and reverse the script on us here. There's our deficit. We had a little rain in a couple spots over the weekend. Most of us were dry. And for the year, it's approaching a 4-inch rainfall deficit, building on last year. We were over 11.5 inches behind. Now, there are a few sprinkles in our eastern zone, tiny little showers or sprinkles. Karnes County, DeWitt, Goliad, looks like Lavaca County, maybe way down there southeastern Atascosa County. And then parts of the western hill country in northern Val Verde County today had a little bit of rain. There's just a very weak upper air disturbance that's in our neighborhood here. So for most of us, you see these patchy clouds. But through about 8, 9 o'clock, slight chance for a little sprinkle or shower. But that's it. Otherwise, wow. I mean, hard to complain about these readings here. 70s, even 60s in Uvalde. WorldCar Weather Cam Network, where we have the patchy cloudiness. 4-zone weather watchers, they're checking in with some really nice temperatures. A little cooler out there with some of the clouds and even some showers out there. Again, as said, Gilbert Wheeler out there in the Carter Valley, 61. 77 Converse, there's Shirts, Kevin Hurt, and New Braunfels. Working up in Spring Branch, everyone checking in with some really nice temperatures. And down south, we have some 70s here on the map. Now, what's ahead of us here? Another temperature swing all across the state. It's 70s, but then just north of us, pretty strong cold front with a delivery of some chilly air coming down. That's going to knock us into the 40s for most into Wednesday morning, and it arrives tomorrow evening. Unfortunately, this front has zero chance of producing rain for our area. So again, in the morning, it's sunny skies. Checking in with Jeanette. We may luck into a cloud along the front. That's it. Comes in with a gusty wind shift. North winds will kick up. And then we may start with patchy clouds Wednesday. Then we turn mostly sunny. So it's a mostly to partly sunny day. And then Thursday, ahead of our next system, we're going to start moistening the atmosphere ahead of that system coming in on Friday. And maybe a sprinkle or shower around on Thursday's forecast. Again, the wind gust tomorrow will be kicking up behind that cold front, 25 to 35 miles per hour. So here's your planner forecast, 52 to 85 before that cold front arrives. Out west, you'll see again, it'll be a very warm day with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Hill country, that cold front will move in about 5 to 6 o'clock for your evening. So you'll warm in the 70s and low 80s before it arrives. Central zone temperatures. Here they're going to be, again, as said, mid-upper 80s to around 90. And in our eastern zone, looking for, again, temperatures that'll be warmer than normal into the mid-80s. And then Friday will be our next weather maker. Upper-level disturbance will be rotating in, and that'll give us a chance for some showers or thunderstorms. So there you see, there is, fortunately, at the end of the week, there's a rainfall opportunity. 85 to 72, a morning low of 46 Wednesday. Upper 60s Thursday, and then a 50% rain chance Friday into Friday night. Simone, Don, over to you.
All right, Chris, thank you. Well, Don, I guess it's different this year with the new playoff format, right? But still a big difference between being maybe 8th or 9th.
Yeah, big difference, Simone. If the Spurs finish 9th or 10th, they're going to have to win 2 games in order to play their way into the playoffs. They're all big games right now, including tonight. We'll take you to Indianapolis as we are all over the Spurs next.
Is the Thomas J. Henry Sports Desk.
Well, I guess the Spurs will find out tonight if that $25,000 was worth it. The Spurs were fined by the NBA for resting DeMar DeRozan, Patty Mills, and Jakob Poeltl all in the same game Saturday night in Phoenix. And not only did those three get some much-needed rest, the Spurs got a much-needed win. The guys flew from Phoenix to Indianapolis yesterday. That's where they'll take on the Pacers tonight, shooting around there this morning. The Spurs put on a shocking performance Saturday night, blowing out the Suns with great defense and energy. Now, this is a Phoenix team that's got the second-best record in the entire NBA. Keldon Johnson says it gave the Spurs a much-needed boost of confidence and something they're hoping to build on tonight.
That's definitely the plan. Just carry the momentum and go out there and try to get another win, stay consistent and things like that. But that's just the main thing, just staying consistent. We just glad to have 3 of our main rotational guys back so we can continue the momentum with them. And they're a big part of our success and what we want to do going forward.
Yep, they're all back tonight. Only guy out tonight is Trey Lyles. Spurs and Pacers tip off at 7. They've got 2 at home this week. That's the Heat and the Pistons on Wednesday and Thursday on a back-to-back. And then they end the week on the road against the Pelicans on Saturday night. Hey, coming up at 6 o'clock, a major coaching change on the high school football front. We'll tell you who's headed where coming up at 6 o'clock.